In the next few minutes, I'm going to expose 12 coffee brands that are selling you burnt beans, hidden mold, pesticide-loaded grounds, and premium blends that aren't even 100% coffee. If you're starting your morning with any of these, you could be slowly draining your energy instead of fueling it. Stick with me until the end, because I'll also reveal 4 clean, toxin-tested, and genuinely energizing coffee brands that are actually worth your money. Let's start with the cup that might already be sitting on your kitchen counter. Folgers is everywhere, from gas stations to grocery shelves to grandma's kitchen. It's been marketed for decades as the best part of waking up. But when you look past the nostalgia, the truth is bitter. Folgers. Classic Roast uses mass-produced Robusta beans, which are cheaper, easier to grow, and contain more caffeine than Arabica, but also significantly more bitterness and fewer antioxidants. These beans are selected for scale, not quality, and roasted at extremely high temperatures to achieve a uniform dark profile. That roasting process? It doesn't just burn away flavor, it produces acrylamide, a chemical compound created during high-heat cooking that's been linked to potential cancer risk in long-term exposure. Independent lab tests have found higher than average acrylamide levels in Folgers coffee compared to specialty brands. What's worse, Folgers doesn't disclose roast dates, sourcing regions, or any third-party testing. The beans are often stale before you even open the canister. And that artificial flavor you might notice? It's often the result of post-roast chemical sprays used to mask the bitterness of low-grade beans. Folgers relies on brand familiarity and price, not quality. For millions of Americans, it's the default coffee. But if you're drinking it every morning, you're filling your cup with industrial shortcuts, unnecessary chemical exposure, and a flavor profile that's more burnt than bold. It's not coffee designed to energize you. It's coffee designed to sell. And unfortunately, it's still working. Maxwell House has been a household name for over a century, but behind the comforting slogan lies a product that prioritizes profit over purity. Their famous original roast may seem reliable, but it's built on a blend of low-grade Robusta beans sourced from regions with minimal pesticide regulation. Multiple independent tests have found residues of harmful agricultural chemicals in Maxwell House products, including chlorpyrifos and endosulfan, 2 pesticides that are banned or heavily restricted in countries like the UK, Canada, and across the EU. These compounds have been linked to neurotoxicity, hormone disruption, and developmental issues, especially when consumed over time. Maxwell House also doesn't offer transparency about bean origin, farming practices, or processing methods. You won't find harvest dates, roast dates, or mold testing results. Their supply chain is massive, and that scale makes quality control nearly impossible. Another problem? The inclusion of coffee chaff, dust, and even shell fragments, byproducts of industrial roasting that end up in cheaper ground coffee to bulk up volume. These fillers may not technically be unsafe, but they lower the overall nutritional quality and taste of the product significantly. To mask these flaws, Maxwell House relies on over-roasting, which burns off subtleties and increases the presence of acrylamide, a heat-formed chemical compound with known health concerns. For a brand that claims to be good to the last drop, what's actually in each drop should give you pause. Dunkin' may have built its empire on fast coffee and sugary donuts, but when it comes to what's inside that bright orange bag of ground beans, the reality is far from comforting. While Dunkin's original blend is widely available in supermarkets, most consumers don't realize that this coffee comes from a global patchwork of low-altitude farms, with minimal oversight on how beans are harvested, processed, or stored. The biggest concern? Mold and mycotoxin contamination. Because Dunkin' sources beans from humid regions and stores them in bulk before roasting, the risk of mold growth skyrockets. Independent lab analyses have found ochratoxin A, a toxic byproduct of mold, in several off-the-shelf Dunkin' coffee samples. This compound has been linked to kidney damage, immune suppression, and even cancer with long-term exposure. To cover up inconsistencies, Dunkin' relies on heavy roasting, which gives the coffee a dark, bitter flavor. But this isn't the result of premium technique. It's a way to mask low-grade beans, stale inventory, and off flavors from contamination. And for those buying flavored varieties like French vanilla or hazelnut, those aren't real flavor infusions. They're lab-made esters and solvents, not natural ingredients. Despite the branding, there's nothing artisanal about this blend. No roast date, no origin disclosure, no toxin testing, just a fast, convenient product that could be silently compromising your health. One moldy scoop at a time. For millions of people, Nescafé is the go-to brand when they need a quick caffeine fix. No grinder, no brewer, just hot water and a spoonful of instant granules. But convenience comes at a serious cost to your health and to quality. Nescafé's instant coffee is made using low-grade Robusta beans, typically sourced from regions with little regulation around pesticide use. These beans are often over-fermented, damaged, or outright rejected from other product lines. Once processed, they're brewed in massive vats, dehydrated through spray drying or freeze drying, and turned into crystals, a method that strips away most of the antioxidants and beneficial oils found in real coffee. Worse yet, Nescafé's decaf products are frequently made using the chemical solvent decaffeination method, where beans are soaked in substances like methylene chloride, a compound linked to liver toxicity and central nervous system effects. Even trace amounts of these chemicals raise red flags when consumed daily. Lab tests on instant coffees, including Nescafé, have revealed elevated levels of acrylamide, a known byproduct of industrial roasting associated with neurological damage and cancer risk in long-term exposure. And while Nestlé claims sustainability, the company has been repeatedly criticized for lack of transparency, exploitative labor practices, and questionable water sourcing ethics. So what are you really drinking? A chemically processed powder made from the bottom tier of global coffee, marketed in sleek jars, and sold with promises of energy and ease. But your body might be paying a hidden price. Seattle's Best sounds like a cozy, independent roastery from the Pacific Northwest, but in reality, it's a budget label owned by Starbucks, designed to capture the lower-cost coffee market while maintaining a premium image. What most people don't know is that Seattle's Best uses the leftover beans rejected from Starbucks' higher-end roasts. These are typically lower-elevation, mass-farmed Robusta beans, cheaper, higher in caffeine, but far more bitter and acidic than Arabica. The result? A harsh cup with little nuance or aroma. To mask inconsistency and off flavors, Seattle's Best uses ultra-dark roasting techniques. But darker isn't better. It's often a cover-up. That deep roast flavor is the result of burning away imperfections, not showcasing the bean's natural character. Worse, this method spikes acrylamide levels, exposing you to more of a potentially harmful compound formed during high-heat roasting. There's also no roast date on the bag, meaning the coffee could be months old by the time it reaches your kitchen. And forget about traceability. You won't find any farm origin, elevation, or processing details, which are standard on higher-quality specialty coffees. Seattle's Best sells the illusion of craft without the quality or transparency. It's coffee for people who want a better brand on the shelf, without realizing they're still getting mass-produced, low-tier beans in shiny packaging. It's not Seattle's Best, it's Starbucks' cheapest, and that makes all the difference. Green Mountain was once known for its Vermont coffee roots, but today it's best known as the powerhouse behind Keurig's K-Cup empire. And while the brand promises great taste in every cup, what's actually inside those plastic pods and around them tells a much darker story. Let's start with the coffee itself. Cheap, low-grade Robusta beans blended for consistency, not quality. These beans are roasted in bulk, often over-roasted to mask defects, which raises acrylamide levels and kills off any natural complexity. The result? A flat, bitter brew, standardized and sterile. But the real issue isn't just what's inside the pod. It's the pod itself. Green Mountain's K-Cups are made with multi-layer plastics that are extremely difficult to recycle. Despite years of green marketing, billions of these non-biodegradable pods end up in landfills annually. Many municipalities can't process them due to their mixed materials and small size. The brand's claim that they're recyclable is mostly PR spin, Most consumers don't peel, empty, and clean each pod before tossing it in the bin, which renders it unrecyclable by default. Worse still, when K-cups are exposed to hot water inside a Keurig machine, chemical compounds like styrene and phthalates can leach into the coffee. These chemicals have been linked to hormonal disruption, fertility issues, and developmental problems in animal studies. Green Mountain sells speed and convenience, but what you're actually brewing is low-quality coffee in a single-use environmental disaster, with a side of chemical exposure. Tim Hortons might be a beloved Canadian icon, but when you take a closer look at what's actually in their coffee, especially the store-bought ground bags and pods, the image of quality starts to fall apart fast. Despite the branding, Tim Hortons doesn't roast or source beans in Canada. Instead, they rely on a global network of commodity suppliers, sourcing from multiple continents, including low-altitude regions in Brazil, Vietnam, and parts of Africa. These beans are often mass-harvested, stored in bulk, and left exposed to moisture and pests, which significantly increases the risk of mold growth and mycotoxins. There's no roast date, no origin information, no certifications, nothing that gives the consumer any control over what they're actually drinking. Tim Hortons coffee is roasted overseas and stored in cargo containers for weeks or even months, losing freshness long before it reaches your home. Their flavored varieties, like French vanilla or mocha, are even more concerning. These blends contain artificial flavor compounds, often made from petroleum-derived solvents and esters, designed to imitate real ingredients like vanilla or cocoa. What you're tasting isn't natural, it's lab-created mimicry. And while the brand evokes nostalgia and national pride, there's very little transparency. No public testing for pesticides, heavy metals, or mold. No commitment to ethical labor practices in the supply chain. Tim Hortons may serve up warm memories, but the reality is a mass-produced, quality-compromised product built for profit, not purity. McDonald's wants you to believe that McCafe is a serious rival to big-name coffee shops like Starbucks. But while the branding suggests cafe-level quality, the reality is fast food logic applied to coffee. Cheap beans, mass roasting, zero transparency. Most McCafe products, including their retail bags and pods, are roasted and packaged by large third-party suppliers. The beans are typically commodity-grade Arabica, sometimes blended with Robusta for cost control, and sourced from large-scale farms in Latin America with minimal sustainability standards. There's no commitment to organic practices, fair trade, or toxin testing. To extend shelf life and cut costs, McCafe coffee is flash-roasted, then vacuum-packed in nitrogen-flushed bags. This method creates uniformity, but flattens flavor and destroys delicate antioxidants that make coffee naturally beneficial. Even worse, lab tests on McCafe products have revealed elevated levels of acrylamide, the potentially carcinogenic compound formed during high-heat roasting. And because the brand discloses no roast date, you have no way to know how stale your coffee might already be. Like many fast food items, it's designed to be cheap, scalable, and consistent, not clean or high quality. The flavor? Overly bitter, dull, and highly acidic, a result of over-roasting to mask low-grade beans. McCafe is coffee engineered for convenience, not for health, purity, or taste. It's the drive-through version of your morning ritual, fast, easy, and ultimately disposable. 8 o'clock. Coffee is one of the oldest supermarket coffee brands in America, and for decades it earned a loyal following for being affordable, familiar, and smooth. But in today's coffee landscape, where freshness, traceability, and quality matter more than ever, 8 o'clock falls far behind. Despite its legacy, this brand offers no transparency about sourcing, farming practices, or processing methods. Most of their beans are bulk shipped from low-altitude farms, where pesticide use is widespread and unregulated. There's no organic certification, no fair trade standards, and no published testing for mold, toxins, or heavy metals. The biggest red flag? There's no roast date on the bag. That means your coffee could have been roasted 6 months ago, or longer, and you'd never know. Over time, coffee loses its natural oils, flavor compounds, and antioxidant properties. What's left? A flat, oxidized, and often stale brew that smells like coffee but tastes like cardboard. 8 o'clock also relies on large-scale industrial roasting, which uses ultra-high heat to ensure shelf stability. But that also increases the formation of acrylamide, a chemical linked to potential long-term health risks when consumed consistently. So while the packaging might still look familiar and comforting, what's inside the bag is anything but fresh. This isn't the 8 o'clock your grandparents drank. It's a corporate product clinging to nostalgia while delivering stale, chemically compromised coffee at scale. Peet's Coffee built its brand on being bold. Its signature dark roasts are marketed as rich, deep, and intense, appealing to those who want their coffee strong. But there's a fine line between bold and burned, and Peet's crosses it often. To achieve that signature flavor, Peet's over-roasts nearly all of their beans, often pushing them into what professionals call second crack and beyond, the point where the coffee's internal oils literally begin to burn. This extreme roasting process destroys many of the natural antioxidants, dulls the bean's unique flavor profile, and amplifies the formation of acrylamide, a heat-formed compound with known cancer risks in high doses. The result is a cup that tastes consistently bitter, smoky, and one-dimensional, no matter what origin the beans came from. Speaking of origins, Peet's offers limited transparency on sourcing. While they claim to use Arabica beans, they rarely disclose specific farms, elevations, or harvest methods, key details for anyone who values ethical, high-quality coffee. For flavored blends and pre-ground options, Peet's adds natural and artificial flavorings, which are not clearly broken down on packaging. These flavor agents can be made from solvents, propylene glycol, or other chemical carriers that don't belong in your morning routine. Peet's has become the corporate face of dark roast culture, prioritizing shelf stability and brand identity over freshness and nutritional value. If your coffee tastes like charcoal, that's not bold. That's a bean roasted to death. Caribou Coffee markets itself as wholesome, adventurous, and eco-conscious, with branding that suggests crisp mountain air and ethical sourcing. But peel back the label, and you'll find a product that's more marketing than merit, and potentially more chemical than coffee. Let's start with sourcing. Caribou boasts Rainforest Alliance certifications, but those certifications don't guarantee toxin-free coffee. They focus on environmental and labor practices, not testing for mold, pesticides, or chemical additives. Independent lab reports on Caribou's flavored coffee blends have detected propylene glycol, a synthetic solvent used to bind artificial flavors, and also found in antifreeze. Their popular varieties like Caramel Hideaway and Vanilla Hazelnut often rely on lab-derived flavor compounds, some of which include ethyl acetate, a solvent used in paint thinner and also in some decaf processes. And while it occurs naturally in fruits, the industrial version is petroleum-based. There's also no evidence of mycotoxin screening, despite the fact that Caribou sources beans from moisture-prone regions like Central America and East Africa. Without mold testing or roast date transparency, you don't know if your beans were stored properly before roasting, or for how long. The company's decaf coffees are especially questionable. Most are processed using chemical decaffeination methods rather than the safer Swiss water process, and Caribou doesn't disclose which method they use unless you dig deep. For a brand that sells itself as clean and adventurous, Caribou Coffee cuts corners where it matters most, and the consequences may be quietly brewing in your cup. Death Wish Coffee built its reputation on being the world's strongest coffee. And from a marketing standpoint, it's genius. Edgy branding, aggressive caffeine claims, and a skull and crossbones aesthetic that screams intensity. But under the surface, that extreme potency raises serious health concerns. Each 12-ounce cup of Death Wish contains up to 700 milligrams of caffeine, more than twice the FDA's recommended daily limit in a single serving. That's the equivalent of nearly 7 espressos at once, all in one mug. For sensitive individuals, this can trigger heart palpitations, anxiety spikes, insomnia, digestive issues, and elevated blood pressure. So how do they make it so strong? Death Wish uses a heavy concentration of Robusta beans, which naturally contain more caffeine, but are also bitter, lower in antioxidants, and higher in chlorogenic acids that can irritate the stomach. They're also roasted dark, further increasing the levels of acrylamide, a heat-formed chemical linked to long-term neurological and cancer risk. Despite being a premium-priced brand, Death Wish offers no published third-party testing for mold, pesticides, or heavy metals, all of which are common risks in mass-imported beans. And there's no clear labeling around decaffeination safety or bean origin either. This isn't coffee designed for flavor or health. It's built to shock the system. And while it may be tolerable as a rare thrill, drinking Death Wish daily is like flooring the gas pedal without checking the brakes. If you're looking for coffee that's both clean and consciously sourced, Life Boost Coffee stands out for one reason. It goes beyond the marketing buzzwords and actually backs its purity claims with lab results. Life Boost sources its beans from a single origin in the mountains of Nicaragua, where coffee is grown at over 5,700 feet elevation, far above the altitude where mold and pests thrive. This elevation ensures slower growth, richer flavor, and fewer contaminants. More importantly, every batch is third-party tested for over 400 toxins, including pesticides, heavy metals, mycotoxins, and acrylamide levels. Those results aren't hidden either. They're made available to customers, proving a level of transparency most coffee brands won't touch. The beans are shade-grown, which not only preserves the rainforest canopy, but also results in slower ripening and higher antioxidant retention. They're also USDA-certified organic, non-GMO, and low-acid, making Life Boost a great choice for people with acid reflux, IBS, or sensitive stomachs. Roasting is done in small batches to preserve freshness and flavor complexity, and the company avoids high-temperature over-roasting that destroys beneficial compounds. The result is a smooth, rich coffee with zero chemical aftertaste and no bitterness. For those who want to energize their body without compromising their health, Life Boost isn't just safe, it's engineered for daily wellness. If there's one brand that has made health the central mission of its entire coffee operation, it's Purity Coffee. This isn't just coffee that tastes good. It's designed from the ground up to optimize your health at every level, from farm to final sip. Purity Coffee uses only 100% organic, specialty-grade Arabica beans, sourced from farms with strict regenerative and chemical-free practices. But what really sets them apart is their commitment to independent lab testing. Every batch is screened for pesticides, mold, mycotoxins, heavy metals, and acrylamide levels, and they consistently exceed the most rigorous international standards. Their approach to roasting is also unique. Instead of chasing flavor trends or dark roast extremes, Purity roasts with precision to maximize antioxidant levels, especially chlorogenic acids, plant compounds known for supporting heart health, reducing inflammation, and even protecting DNA from oxidative stress. Even their decaf goes a step further. Purity only uses the Swiss water process, a non-toxic, chemical-free method that preserves up to 99% of the antioxidants while gently removing caffeine. You won't find artificial flavors, additives, or vague origin labels here. Every bag includes traceability info, roast date, and purity guarantees. The taste? Smooth, balanced, and clean, without the acidic bite or jittery crash. For people who take their health seriously but don't want to give up coffee, Purity is more than a brand. It's a research-backed investment in your daily well-being. When performance, purity, and science come together, you get Kion Coffee, a brand created with a clear mission: provide clean energy without compromising your health. And unlike many flashy coffee brands, Kion doesn't rely on marketing gimmicks. It backs up every claim with lab testing and sourcing transparency. Kion sources its beans from high-altitude, organic farms in Colombia, where strict growing practices limit the use of pesticides and promote sustainable soil health. The beans are 100% specialty-grade Arabica, hand-picked for ripeness and sun-dried naturally to preserve nutrients. Each batch is independently tested for mold, mycotoxins, heavy metals, and pesticide residues, ensuring that the coffee you drink is as clean as it is energizing. Kion also screens for acrylamide, a chemical that forms during roasting and has been linked to potential neurological risks. Their low-heat roasting techniques keep these levels far below industry averages. What makes Kion stand out is its focus on performance-focused coffee. Their medium roast is designed to preserve chlorogenic acids and other natural antioxidants, compounds linked to improved metabolism, reduced inflammation, and better cognitive function. The result? A cup of coffee that actually supports focus, energy, and endurance without the crash, jitters, or acidity. Their decaf is also worth noting. It uses the Swiss water process, avoiding harsh chemical solvents entirely. And every bag includes roast dates, region information, and purity metrics. Kion coffee is a go-to for athletes, biohackers, and health-conscious drinkers alike. This is coffee built for clean fuel, not chemical overload. At the very top of the purity pyramid sits Clean Coffee Co., a brand that takes transparency and health to a level most companies simply don't dare approach. Their promise is simple but bold: zero toxins, maximum traceability, and a clean energy boost you can trust every single time. Clean Coffee Co. sources all of its beans from elevation-verified single-origin farms in Central and South America, where high-altitude growth naturally deters pests and mold. But they don't stop there. Every batch undergoes extensive third-party testing for over 180 contaminants, including pesticides, mold, heavy metals, yeast, bacteria, acrylamide, and microplastics. Each bag is fully traceable, with harvest date, elevation, farm name, and roast date printed right on the label. You know exactly what you're drinking and when it was roasted. Their roasting process is engineered for health, not hype. Clean Coffee Co. uses precision-controlled, low-temperature roasting that locks in chlorogenic acids, polyphenols, and natural oils, giving your body the antioxidants it craves without the bitterness or acidity that darker roasts often bring. Their packaging is 100% BPA-free and oxygen-sealed to preserve freshness without plastic leaching. And their Swiss water decaf retains over 99% of the antioxidants while gently removing caffeine without chemicals. Clean Coffee Co. isn't trying to be trendy. It's built for people who want the purest, most honest coffee available, without compromises, contaminants, or corporate games. If you want to drink coffee like it's fueling your life, not draining it, this is the one.